Hey everyone, I got an emergency call for a hung server in a Brooklyn Navy Yard, so I figured I'd just video a little run downtown and into Brooklyn for you guys. I gotta go down 2nd Avenue. I'll take that all the way down to the Brooklyn Bridge and then cross over. Actually, Manhattan Bridge. Not too cold tonight. It's 38. For New York standards, not too cold. I guess for Florida standards, that would be like, no way, man. You need to pack up your bike, put it away, and never ride it again. But for New York standards, that's cold. I mean, it's good. For Florida, it's cold. This is definitely weird though, seeing 2nd Avenue like this, even for a Saturday night. Totally weird. It's not weird for me to be going to a service call on a Saturday night, because I do 24-hour service calls. You know, for servers, security systems down, door locks, all the emergency stuff in New York. So it's not uncommon, but this is weird seeing 2nd Avenue. Like, no matter how many times I do this, it's weird. I'm hoping things get back to normal by 2021. I did another video before about the Lex exhaust. You know, I actually like it. I had an FMF exhaust on an old Gen 1 KLR. That was really, it sounded great also. I had the power bomb header and all that stuff, but it was quite expensive actually to put all that. I didn't mean to be a jerk going around that guy. It's just that if I stop and somebody comes running into the back of me, nobody's gonna help me. So I just kind of like go around, unless I saw somebody fell down in the road or something like that, then I turn the bike sideways and sacrifice my bike. But you know, with somebody crossing like that, that's really dangerous if I stop, because if I stop and somebody comes flying around me and slams into us or him or whatever, it's just more of a distraction in the road. They'll be looking at the bike and not at him. So what I find is it's better just to go around someone like that than even mess around. Don't even go anywhere near them, because if you confuse them and they don't know if they're going to jump for it or not, they'll jump right into you. Best way to handle a pedestrian like that is go around. But when you're lane splitting, you got to be really careful that you don't lane split right up into a pedestrian. That's like during the normal times, because when the roads are really crowded. Right now you can see everything. It's definitely weird. But during normal times, this is be all jammed up and you just be lane splitting. And you have to watch out for people in the middle of the blocks. You definitely can't go this fast. You can't do 20, 25, 30 miles an hour. You got to do like maximum 25 when you're lane splitting here, because there's too many factors. Too many things that jump out at you, which I've had happen. I've learned my lesson from that. You got too many factors that come into play where you got to emergency stop. And on the KLR, I mean, I beefed up the brakes on this bike, but they're definitely not super heavy duty brakes. I mean, the brakes on this KLR are marginal at best, so you have to take it easy. Always inspect your brakes. look at the pad wear, see how much you have left on it. If you have to change pads, I always change pads when I need to. I do some emergency stop tests, you know, before I leave. And tires, the stock tires that come with the KLR are horrible. Like one of the worst tires I've ever used, actually. I like the Kenda K761 or Kenda big block tires. They're good. Or Continental TKC80s. Those are decent. It's a big block tire that's decent traction even when it's wet out. But if you're looking for a all-around tire, the Kenda K761 is the best. It's a best all-around tire if you have to jump on a highway and do 80. Because the problem with those big block tires, that they say they're rated for 80 miles an hour, but you're gonna have those tires struggle. They struggle when you're doing 80 miles an hour. You don't do 80 miles an hour in New York, but if I have to jump out on the I-95 to head up to Westchester or something like that, the highway moves. You know, it's like California freeways. You got to move. Like, I had a Gen 1 KLR in California, and getting on the freeways there, like the 101 or the 405, it's just, at night, you can't keep up with a KLR with the speeds of the freeway. It's not capable on the 110 or any one of those major freeways at night. People are moving, and you just can't keep up. The Gen 1. This Gen 2 I find has a little bit better wind protection. You could cruise the highway 80. You could do a continual 80 miles an hour. You could even bump it up to 90, but it's going to be winding out. You have to check the oil if you're going to run those kind of speeds constantly. But what the KLR is perfect for is the local stuff like this. It's a good bike for that. A bit on the heavy side though. But I guess if you're a big dude, like over 200 pounds, it's probably not an issue. You can manhandle a KLR. They probably think this bike is small for like a really big Samoan dude. Actually, if you're a big dude also, you want to be on a KLR because it's got the suspension and power to handle a big person, and 2 up is not an issue. But I still like the Honda XR650l in the summertime. You got to fill up a lot, but I find the XR, I'm going to do another video with the XR650l once I have it in storage right now because I drive the KLR in winter. I guess you know what I'll do? I'll title this video actually XR650l or KLR, differences between XR650l and KLR650 Gen 2. I'll actually title this video for that, just to see what kind of responses I get. So this video will be the KLR. Unfortunately, I don't have my XR is in storage, so I won't be able to do a video on the XR, but I will soon. And then in the summertime, I'll do a side-by-side. But hands down, the KLR has some features to it that will beat the XR, hands down. Like gas tank size, 6.1 gallons. I mean, the gas tank on the XR is 2 gallons. There's no 6th gear on either bike, so you'll be struggling for that when you're on the freeway. Sometimes find yourself looking for a 6th gear. I even had a 6th gear on my bike in Manila, the Yamaha XT 225. That has 6 gears on it. You could get on a freeway and do. You don't wind the bike out too much, which was nice. That's 6th gear. I don't know why they never put that in there. There must be some reason logistically why they just didn't put that in on a KLR. But as far as handling goes, though, in the normal New York, where this road is just completely jammed and you're just like squeaking through lane splitting, there's no doubt that the XR650 has advantages over the KLR, because you know, you can just kind of like zip through traffic. It's got a small profile, thin, it's responsive, the engine, air cooled, but I found it actually doesn't overheat. I mean, it's pretty bulletproof. It does not have an oil cooler like the Suzuki DR650 does, which I had one of those. It was stolen. The DR650 got stolen in Harlem. I didn't really actually, to be honest, like that bike though. I found that the oil cooler was nice. It never overheated, none of that stuff. But I didn't like the height of the bike, the seat height of the bike. It was too low. I like a high bike. I like good ground clearance. And I found that the DR650, the brakes were actually terrible, but I don't know if that's because it was an older bike. I bought a used one on Craigslist. So if your height is below 6 feet and you don't like tippy-toeing on a bike like they do in Philippines, people buy the high bikes even if they're short. They'll just stop and turn on one leg, and they do fine. But it is pretty scary when you have to try to figure out something on the right leg when the weight of the bike is coming down. You definitely, that height will be a problem. So if you're under 6 feet, the DR650 is actually pretty good. The XR650 is actually insanely tall. That thing is like up in the stratosphere. That thing's tall bike, man. 34-inch inseam, like 34 inches. So it's like, even that thing catches you off guard once in a while. You gotta be careful with it. But you don't have that weight. If you had the weight of a KLR with the seat height of an XR650, that would be totally unmanageable. Because the weight of the KLR, if you let it lean too much at low speed, it's definitely scary. Which I have done. Like one time in the rain, I was coming from a place downtown on Houston Street, and I made a turn, and then a car like cut me, and I had to make an emergency stop, and my foot slipped a little bit, and that was the end of that. The bike went down. And that's what happens on the KLR when you get caught off guard, where the weight starts to catch up to you, and you get beyond that point of no return when the bike is leaning too much. And when that happens, you're gonna lay the bike down, which sucks, you know. And picking up a KLR, you're gonna have to do it with the squat method. Put your back to the bike and do a power lift on it. That's the only way you can lift a KLR. Women do it too. There's women riders I've seen lift a KLR. They just do a power lift. But at 440 pounds, that's a lot of weight to be picking up. You're not actually picking up 440 pounds, but you know, because the tires are on the ground and you're lifting, I would imagine it's 250. Whereas when you lay down the XR, and I've never actually laid down the XR650, because the weight is enough that you can control it. So I've never had a problem with that. And then lifting the XR, I've done stuff where I had to lay it on its side to work on something, and it's not an issue to pick it up. But I actually dropped my KLR one time in the garage when I was working on something in California, the Gen 1 KLR, and it dropped. I had the nice Barkbuster handguards on it with the steel frame and everything, and the bike dropped onto an aluminum ladder, and it completely destroyed the step of the ladder. Like, just bent it to a point where it wasn't even usable anymore, that ladder. That's what's scary about the KLR, when that thing's going down. And then one time I was in Manhattan, and I was going to a service call, and I couldn't find a parking spot, so I jammed it up on the sidewalk next to a postal truck, and there was something slippery on the ground, and the front wheel kicked on me, and the bike just like fell against the truck, and I had a hard time like getting a handle on it, and I had to like drag it a little bit and then get so I could grab it. That's the kind of stuff that I don't like about the KLR. But there are things about the weight though that help you, like being that it's 440 pounds gives you good traction actually on the road. You get that better traction. I wouldn't drive the XR in the wintertime, because when you get those road conditions get a little bit sketchy, you'd want to be on a KLR. You could throw some spikes in the tire, throw some tire studs in. The KLR is not going to slide out on you. You got that weight to hold you steady. So I've learned that over time. Like, you normally would think you'd want a lighter bike in wintertime, but I've actually found that 400 weight range is actually good. That's a good number to be at. Wow, I got some indoor dining going on. That's good. Yeah, the dining got stopped for a little bit. Now it's back on again. As long as they have an open area for the air to flow through. Good airflow. Filtration system and all that stuff. The indoor dining's okay now. But there's a capacity. I don't know how they're doing it in California. It seems like they got shut down again.